It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
Good morning, Steve. I'm going to do my best not to
sound
fall
Irish.
into Irish this morning.
Good morning.
Oh, welcome to another Saturday matinee. Here we are.
We're getting into the dark days of Saturday matinee, getting up early and it's getting darker and darker. Now, we're farther south, so it's not as bad for us. I think, Pete, I don't think the sun comes up till like 9 a.m. for them that up that
I
far
don't think
north.
the sun comes up until March, right?
Yeah. So at least we still have a wee bit of sunshine.
Right. Just
there's your Irish for you. It's Saturday morning with a bit of Irish for you for the rest of 2018.
How has your movie life been this past week?
It's been non-existent. I've been traveling for work, so I haven't had a chance to do anything. But catching up on TV shows, as I mentioned, I finished Homecoming on Amazon Prime, season 1 of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Because it's just Maisel. I don't know.
I would assume she says it on the show, so I'd assume
she does, but it's so early I can't remember. So I'm waiting to catch up. But I am starting to stockpile for my next project, which is the season of Three of a Kind that'll be coming in 2019. So I'm starting to dig into those, and as you know from you're working on your Marvel piece, that just takes up a lot of time of digging into films and research and all of that. So yeah, that's been starting to ramp up. So I haven't had a chance to get out. There is a lot of stuff that's starting to come soon. So I'm looking forward to the holiday break to maybe catch up, do a little bit of binging out in the theaters maybe. But yeah, it's been non-existent for me. I know I've got a appointment for next weekend because of Film Board.
Right.
So we're going to do the Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. But yeah, that's going to be... It'll have been like a month since I've seen anything in the theater because I did not get out to birthday binge. So yeah, it's horrible for me. Well, how about you?
I'm kind of the same.
Yeah?
I've been so busy with work. We had I was traveling this past week as well, and this new podcast that I'm doing seems to take up all my extra spare time. This Marvel Movie Minute is a little insane, trying to get it ready for when we launch it in January. So
it's the Marvel Movie Lifetime Achievement Award is what you're going to end up having.
That's pretty much what it's going to feel like.
Because it will have sucked up your entire lifetime. Yes.
Right. Next thing I know, I'll be 70 and I'm like, I'm still talking about these movies.
Maybe down the road you'll have earned the place to you'll start getting cameos in the Marvel movies in the 2030s.
I'd like to think so.
It'd be like, hey, there's that guy that's insane enough to have done this podcast for the past 20 years. Maybe we should put him a little cameo in a movie.
Oh, if that's what comes of it, then maybe I'll say it's worth it. Although if it takes,
well, but then they'll just unfortunately they'll just digitize Stanley's face over you. But
Oh my! But yeah, other than I got out Thanksgiving. I really haven't had a chance to get out to the theaters. And at home I've been playing catch up on our own shows, as well as catching up on some of the shows that I've missed from when we have, like when you guys have done a trailer rewind or something. I'm still playing catch up on those. So,
but we're off for December, so you get a break.
I know, and I'll finally catch up. I think I'm only missing one at this point that I have not. Actually, no, I think I finally caught up because I watched Hostels. I think now I'm just behind on Film Board episodes because I still haven't seen Green Book or First Man. And it sounds like Green Book's going to be around for a little while because it's getting nominations. But First Man, I'm going to have to wait till it comes back around in a digital form because it's gone from theaters. But speaking of Green Book, and I know we don't need to talk about the movie since none of you seem to like it. But it sure is getting a lot of award recognition. And this past week, the Golden Globe nominations came out.
Yes, they did. And I started looking at the list because my goal was to stay ahead of the game because I didn't want to be in the position that you found yourself in last year, where I think you caught up sometime in July.
I did catch up with the Best Picture nominees finally, but it did take some time.
So I'm not. There's a few that, well, at this time in award season, it's always like the list come out and it's like, oh, that's great. That movie isn't even out yet, but now I know I can be sure to put it on my list, which helps.
I think of the nominees for Best Picture Drama and Best Picture Musical or Comedy. Only 3 have not been released yet, right? If Beale Street Could Talk, which comes out next week, and then Mary Poppins Returns and Vice, which are coming out.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in the drama category, I'm 3 for 5. I've seen Black Panther, Black Klansman, and A Star Is Born. So I just the holiday is around Thanksgiving and everything got crazy. So Bohemian Rhapsody, I did not get out to see that one. So I'm hoping I can pick that one up before it disappears from theaters.
And I haven't seen that one either, nor have I seen Black Klansman. But Bohemian Rhapsody actually surprised me that it made it to that list. Actually, Star Is Born too, and that neither of those ended up on the musical comedy.
Yeah.
Because that's usually where they'll put a film that's kind of a biopic about a musician. It'll end up in the musical or comedy section.
Yes.
And so it was strange to me. It seemed honestly like they were probably playing politics and saying we have a better chance of getting nominated if we put ourselves here rather than here. That's
and I think there's something about taking the story seriously, which in the musical comedy category, Crazy Rich Asians, Green Book, Mary Poppins, Favorite, those make sense. Vice, not having seen it, but it reminds me of Big Short. I have trouble considering a movie like that a comedy because it is tackling serious material, yes, in a comic way, but I think overall, just because it makes me laugh, I don't think of that type of film as a comedy.
Really?
Yeah, I because to me it's, I guess because it's not a documentary, but it's taking on a serious historical event. And I guess because you look at it through a different lens, I just have trouble thinking of real life as a comedy. I mean, I guess it's a very dark comedy, but to me, the underlying themes and message it's giving, at least with The Big Short, it gives you something serious to think about.
Well, it does, but
and how tragic I guess it's that tragedy comedy line.
Yeah.
Of you push tragedy a little bit and you end up in comedy because it just is, you have to laugh at it. Otherwise you'll get so depressed about it. But I didn't know Vice was going to be.
It looks funny. It looks like they're taking a funny take on it.
Yeah.
But you could say the same thing with Black Klansman. And I haven't seen that one, but it looks like one that essentially is kind of a comedic look at that story. And so that's another one where I feel like it's probably in the same camp as Vice and could have very easily have crossed the line into that other category.
Yeah. I guess that's the difference of whether how you want the audience to perceive it, as it's a serious story that has comic moments. So it's a drama, or a comedy because you want to emphasize the comic, elements to the story, I guess.
It's a weird line that the Golden Globes that they use, because remember, we had the crazy idea that The Martian was nominated for Best Comedy. Back in 2015. So that was one of those weird ones. It's like, what are these guys thinking here? That makes very little sense to look at it that way. But it's one of those things where I think that oftentimes they are probably trying to find ways to squeeze things into different categories just so they can make sure they nominate the ones that they really like. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think then part of that goes to looking at the actors and actresses and which categories, because I think if the movie's nominated for Best Picture Comedy, you can't have an actor in there considered for Best Actor in a drama. Right. So it may be looking at how they want to market those particular actors and their roles and performances. So if you want to have Christian Bale in a strong field for Best Actor, I get him into comedy. Maybe you're feeling that the drama field is one that it's going to get crowded, so you can push that movie and say, well, it could be considered a comedy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Because I look at that and I say, for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. And I have not seen The Old Man and the Gun, but Robert Redford, I wouldn't consider that a comedy from the trailer and everything. Yes, it's maybe lighter, but again, I would not consider Robert Redford as a comic actor.
Well, and to that point, like, I didn't know Green Book was considered a musical or comedy, but Viggo Mortensen's nominated, and both of them are nominated.
Yeah,
and to me, I don't know. I guess that strikes me funny because it's I don't know. It's just a weird delineation that they've created.
It is the Golden Globes.
Into issues. Yeah, it is.
It is the Golden Globes. It's Right, it's a mess of Now Viggo, I mean, there are comic undertones to that character, and there are a lot of laughs based around his performance, so that makes sense to me. But again, I wouldn't consider the movie overall a comedy. And perhaps maybe if we, the film board, had looked at it that way, we would have a different perspective on that movie. But I think we were looking at this as a drama with a statement or message, and again, did not get what we wanted. If we had looked at this through the filter of, oh, this is a comedy, our conversation may have been very different.
Well, and sometimes I wonder if that comes from the creators behind it. Like Spike Lee seems like a more serious director. We're going to put him in drama. Adam McKay, he's a funny guy. We're going to put his stuff in comedy. Same thing can be said about Peter Farrelly. The fact that ended up in comedy, it may be because of who he is. And again, I haven't seen it, so I can't speak completely to it. But it seems like there may be some element of that. Who knows?
Yeah,
it is. It's a weird line that they perpetually seem to be dancing with at the Golden Globes, but regardless, there's a lot for me to catch up. Like I said, I've only caught those two of the Best Picture drama nominees. I haven't seen a single one of the musical or comedy nominees. So I've got for them, I've got 8 movies to catch up with. So
well, if you look at musical comedy, the ones that you would have had an opportunity to see is Crazy Rich Asians and Green Book. Favorite was in really limited release.
True, I think it's finally a little wider.
But in the Mary Poppins and Vice, you're not,
sure.
You got to wait till Christmas. So, that's, again, now you can help build your watch list for the holiday season a little bit here, and that may help cut down on the catching up you have to do with by the time the Oscars roll around.
Are there any things that you're surprised are not on here that you've seen, or even ones you haven't seen but you've heard a lot about? One for me is Boy Erased.
Yeah, I am surprised because that just seems like the film that is going to get. You look at the cast in that, and we do have an actor nomination for Lucas Hedges in that. But that just seemed like keyed into fit into the drama category. I'm surprised. Again, with Black Panther being there, nothing against that film, but that was February? And with so much coming out in December, I would think that there's a lot of other things that would have taken in the drama spot with that. And I think there's other things that by the time the Oscars roll around, Black Panther may still sit in there, but there'll be a lot of other dramas that I think I would have expected to be nominated. I think the On the Basis of Sex, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg bio, it seems like it's built to be that type of Oscar, type of film.
Yeah,
as well. And again, I loved 8th Grade, and I would have liked to have seen that in the perhaps in the comedy area, because I thought that was it's one of my favorite films of the year. I'm thrilled to see Elsie Fisher getting nominated for Best Actress in that. I haven't seen Crazy Rich Asians. I've heard wonderful things about it. But for me, there was so much heart in 8th Grade. I just was, keeping fingers crossed to see that film get some additional recognition because it was such a solid film.
Yeah, right. No, I that's one also that I was disappointed with, that it didn't. I mean, like you, I'm glad to see Elsie Fisher in there, but I would like to have seen a little more love for that one. I haven't. I haven't seen so many of them. It's hard to say, but it makes me, if anything, curious to watch all the ones I've missed, and actually watch some of the ones that I've missed that I felt probably should have been nominated, just to see if I really think, they really missed the mark with leaving that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will see. I guess we got to wait a few months. When do the Golden Globes happen? January 6th. So,
okay,
a little bit of time. A big trailer dropped, and I guess I'll be talking about that one. So should we jump into trailers?
We can jump into trailers. That I already made a little comment in Discord about this one, as I'm waiting for the the fan edits to start showing up on this one. So go ahead. It's gonna be the biggest film of the spring, right?
This one's the summer.
Is it summer?
Yeah, this one's not coming out until I'm talking about Avengers Endgame.
I thought that was April. Isn't that still spring?
Is it spring? Is it April? Do I have it backward as far as when the two are getting released? For some reason, I was thinking Captain Marvel is the one that's getting released first, but you're right. Avengers Endgame is April 26th. So when is Captain Marvel then? Because
I think Captain Marvel is in March.
God, that's right. I don't know why my brain is all of a sudden positioning all of them for 2019. Yes.
Well, it's because you would think that Marvel would crowd into that summer space, but I think they are starting to stake out territory in the spring and have found that they can dominate that area as well. Like, as I said, Black Panther was like last February, and it's easy for them to just take over those weekends without a lot of competition, and they know that audiences will show up, that it's not so much about, oh, it's summer, I'm going to go to a movie, let me see what's around. It's, oh, there's a Marvel movie coming, I'm going to make sure I go this weekend to see it, no matter what weekend it is.
Well, and it's just weird for me that these two are getting released so close together. I would think that they would give a little more time between them for some breathing room, even just trailers. I was thinking it's going to be weird to have the Avengers trailer released before Captain Marvel is released in theaters, because people are, you don't want to create this weird saturation in the market where all of a sudden more people are talking about Avengers Endgame than they are Captain Marvel, and obviously people are still going to go see Captain Marvel, but it's one of those weird things that they're doing by releasing both of them so close together.
Well, and then we get Spider-Man Far From Home, July 5th, 2019. So that's our summer movie, is Spider-Man. So that's the three.
And that's all they've announced so far. So with dates, that's my understanding. So it will be interesting to see kind of when they start. Like, are we going to start getting more trailers? How is the rest of the cinematic universe going to start to play out? I'm very curious to see how they kind of continue to move with all of that. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, I remember there was, when they started talking about these phases and everything, and we had phase 3, and then it was projections out to like 2020 something, and then it seems like they've pulled back from that a little bit. And I don't know how much of that is due to some projects just, again, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 sort of having to be, shut down, stopped. Yeah. And, I don't know if that, again, how the stories all, weave together and crossovers and how we're building this universe. If that film is a linchpin to other stories, then okay, we've got to stop and restructure or rethink how we're going to move forward if we don't have Guardians of the Galaxy as a placeholder here to build other stories on or crossovers. So I don't know how much of that is part of it, but I am surprised that usually we had at least a blueprint of, within the next year, these are the 2 or 3 films, and we've got 2019 and then nothing. And I haven't heard. Usually, there's production. We're getting notices on somebody's been cast in this part, and I haven't seen or heard anything.
They only have listed Avengers Endgame as being the end of Phase 3, and Spider-Man Far From Home is listed as post Phase 3, but they still haven't even gone so far as to say it's starting Phase 4. So it's interesting, and I'm wondering if between now and the time when either Captain Marvel or Avengers Endgame are released, that they will actually have an announcement as to what they're going to be doing for Phase 4, because you expect another Doctor Strange movie to be in there, another Black Panther movie to be in there, probably another movie with Ant-Man and the Wasp. Who knows with Guardians of the Galaxy what's going to happen there? But I mean, they've done an Iron Man trilogy, they've done a Thor trilogy, they've done a Captain America trilogy, so they could stop those if they were so inclined and kind of leave it with kind of the culmination of Avengers Endgame and then start focusing on some of these other characters.
Well, there are, in Wikipedia, there are some notes about a Black Widow film. It says in January 2018, they've got a writer on the script. July, they've got a director, Scarlett Johansson returning. Filming expected to begin in 2019.
Okay.
But so there's something there.
There is something, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, Avengers Endgame.
Your trailer.
that's what we're going to talk about, and it's very teasery trailer. I mean, it's a full trailer length trailer. It's not like a minute long teaser, but it really gives you no sense of much of anything. It's just kind of a catch up. Where are they now? Type of thing post Infinity War. And if you haven't seen Infinity War, this is a spoilery conversation, so skip this conversation about this particular trailer. But it starts off with Tony stuck in the spaceship. He's left the planet that he was on, and he's basically dying. He has no food, water left. His oxygen's about to run out. And he's leaving a message for Pepper, kind of a last love letter for Pepper, which is really sad to see this as the state that we find Tony in, who's been kind of the one who started this whole franchise. And then we just see a bunch of images of kind of things afterward. We have a brief glimpse of Thanos in there, but then it's the rest of the story kind of focuses on the other three heroes that we know we have left on Earth: Captain America, Black Widow. Well, I guess there's a few of them: Hulk, Thor, and just kind of get a little glimpse of their story. We do see Hawkeye show up again, I guess.
Yes, and Ant-Man.
Well, and then and that's the kind of the funny kick that we have at the end of this teaser is the fact that Ant-Man's alive, which we all knew from the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's just, how is he going to find his way out of the quantum universe?
Yes.
And I think a lot of theories have been going around about this, because Scott Lang's daughter from the Ant-Man films, she's played by an actress who is much older than the other one. And I guess in the comics, his daughter becomes a superhero, and she works to help get her father out of the quantum verse. And so it's going to be interesting to see kind of what they pull from the comics and the directions they go. But it already looks like they're doing some of that. So,
well, it's an interesting timeline, because that's the thing that I noticed. Sort of at the end of this trailer, when Scott Lang shows up outside the Avengers headquarters, and he's like, "Hey, it's me. You remember me from a couple years ago, at the airport?" And I thought, a couple years ago. So, again, we don't get a lot of time reference points. And I know people have tried constructing timelines. So I don't remember how much time passed between, Captain America Civil War and then Avengers Infinity War. And is there another leap of time we're making? Because as you will notice, Chris Evans has, shaved his beard off. He had a beard in Infinity War. Now, he doesn't have a beard. Of course, that, takes maybe all of, 15 minutes for him to shave that off. But again, there's some significant time that may have passed. So it is possible that, we are a year or two later with them trying to develop their plan. I don't know. And it's, as you say, it is very teasery, because Captain America and Black Widow are talking about this plan. And it's got to work, because if it doesn't work, he doesn't know what he's going to do. And, we have no idea what this plan is, or who it's involving, or what's going on, other than they're trying to do something to, remedy this situation, caused by the snap of Thanos. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I love the title because that it harkens back to Infinity War when Doctor Strange has said, he's looked at all these different possibilities and he does something and he says, I think it's to Tony, we're in the end game now. So he knows what needs to happen, or he sees what path they need to take for them to defeat Thanos, which is one out of, I forget how many, hundreds of thousands or millions of possibilities he saw, but he did what he needed to do to put them into what he called the end game. So I like that choice of title for this one to really connect these two films together.
Yeah, it's nice. Like everything about it is nicely designed. Even the logo that we come up with at the end, just kind of that shattered Avengers that's in pieces. I think that defines it nicely. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm really curious to see how they tell this story and what's going to happen. It's going to be an interesting film for sure. And for those who are fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm sure it's going to be something that we're all looking forward to.
Well, I went dark. I went with the trailer based on the cast. Again, we sort of hit the spots where there's not a lot out there for trailers, or you've got trailers coming for what often are those, the early part of the year dumping grounds. So I'm not sure about this one. It's called State Like Sleep. And what really drew me into this is the cast. You've got Michael Shannon and Catherine Waterston in a noir thriller. This is from writer-director Meredith Danluck, and I have not seen anything else. Primarily, looking at her filmography, works into the documentary field, but has one other feature film called North of South, West of East with Ben Foster that I have not seen. But what I like about this is it's sort of that noir thriller. You've got Catherine Waterston, her boyfriend has committed suicide, and she's trying to figure out exactly what happened. And of course, in digging into his life, discovers all kinds of secrets and, what did she really know him? So it's sort of that questioning of truth and reality. And then of course, with these, there's always the possibility for twists, given, do we have a reliable sort of narrator or main character that we're following? So I'm intrigued by this, and based on, Michael Shannon and Catherine Waterston being attracted to this, I thought there should be something interesting in the story that would draw them to these characters. So I'm hanging my hopes on that. The January 4th release date is not promising to me. But again, this is something that I, anticipate perhaps a future trailer rewind to have some interesting discussion about. But I'm cautiously optimistic that this might be, once we've gone through all of the late December Oscar, contenders, that this is some interesting counter programming. What did you think?
It's one of those ones where it looks like it could be an interesting movie, but I can't quite tell from the trailer. It's like, there might be something here.
Yes.
It's definitely an interesting cast, and the cast is what caught my eye with it. It also, it never quite gels into something that the way that I am hoping, but it is one of those ones I watched the trailer and I'm like, if they, with this cast, if they can pull it off, it could be something that's really kind of a fun mind bender sort of trailer as you kind of go through this journey with these characters. So I love watching Catherine Waterston. She's an interesting actress who I think she's got a really interesting look. I feel like the first time I ever saw her was Fantastic Beasts, but I see that she was in Inherent Vice, which I hated, so I probably just blocked that out of my mind that she was in that one. And I mean, she'd been acting, actually Michael Clayton, but in a bit part, but she's one of those people that I haven't seen in a lot of things, but she always is captivating when she's on screen. So this could be something that that I find interesting to watch, just because it's it's doing something a little different.
Yeah, the type of role she takes is really diverse between the Fantastic Beasts franchise,
right,
Alien Covenant, and she was also in the Steve Jobs, the Michael Fassbender, as his ex-wife or girlfriend, Chrisanne Brennan, is where I first remember, I think, seeing her. And yeah, she's just sort of finding all kinds of, and then she even had a small part in Logan Lucky.
Right.
Yeah, just hasn't settled into like one specific genre, which is nice. So I never know what to expect from her. Yeah.
When's this one? This one's January, you said, right?
Yeah, it's January 4th. So right before those Golden Globes.
That's right. I will say it's only a 5.7 on IMDb, and if we're following Pete's 6-star rule. Then again, only 55 people have ranked it. So
yeah, we'll give it some time. We'll see if it finds its footing. Yes,
exactly. All right. Well, I guess we should jump into our lists here. Steve.
Yes. Why do we pick this category again?
Why do we do this to ourselves?
I don't know.
We should have learned by now. We give options like these to our Patreon supporters, and inevitably they're going to pick the one that is the most difficult for us to do.
Yeah, I was really hoping for like the dark James Bond type of route. I thought,
too.
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, I saw there was some good discussion about a lot of ones that could have been on those lists. So I'm glad there's discussion around those, and then perhaps that's something that will continue to happen. The categories that don't get picked, there can be some side conversations and discussions, and everybody sharing their picks of what could have been on those lists. Because this one, and I think I broke some rules, but I don't care because I didn't have a whole lot to go with.
And it's a hard one to search for because it keeps bringing me back to films about the Trojan War, and I'm like, I looked at the list of movies on Wikipedia, films about the Trojan War, and I'm like, I haven't seen a single one. I have not seen a single one of these. It makes it very challenging, and then you try searching, people sneaking inside something or whatever. It's impossible. It's a really difficult thing to find. So
you've got to sit down and brainstorm, and it's challenging. It is. I mean, as I said, sometimes these are easier because you can single out that scene and say, "Oh yeah," but sometimes I've got a memory of something. I'm like, "Yeah, I remember this." I don't know what movie that is, but I've got this memory of there's a guy hiding in this thing and he's waiting to come out, and I can't for the life of me remember what movie it is. So yeah, I wish there was a Google like reverse memory search where I could just like, let me describe this movie. I may not remember the name of an actor, but here's the plot. Here's the scene setup. Go find that movie for me, Google. But it's not out there.
They make it very difficult, don't they?
They do.
Do you want to kick it off, or shall I kick it off? Oh, so the one that we ended up going with, we should let people remind those supporters of what torture they did for us. We're, of course, this week talking about John McTiernan's 1999 remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, and the options we provided were The Trojan Horse, people breaking in somewhere by hiding in something, James Bond actors on the wrong side of the law, or Island Paradise Retreats. And as we've already said, we're looking at Trojan horses. So, oh dear, kick it off, Steve.
Okay, I'm going with my rule breaker. So it was a short list, and this one stuck out because for me, I call this sort of the reverse Trojan horse, where somebody's hiding in something to get out of someplace, because that's how stuck I was on this. And then, of course, this is a film that you and Pete have talked about on the show, but I'm going to throw it in there because I love this film. I haven't seen it in a few years, but it just holds up so well. Because when you rob a bank, the best way to escape is to hole yourself up in the wall for a week and then just walk straight out. And that's Clive Owen in Inside Man, the reverse Trojan horse.
Nice. It's a good one. We have talked about it.
Yes, it is.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
When they give us this list, I'm going to do the best I can.
Right.
That's what I've got.
Right. Well, I went, I really struggled, as I already have said, trying to find something that made the most remote bit of sense for me. I ended up going with, I ended up going with a direction that I found at least somewhat more searchable.
Okay.
And it's kind of a fun, it ended up being kind of a fun route. It's, the route that I went with is, People hiding in a birthday cake. The popping out of the birthday cake thing.
Okay. All right.
So for my first pick, I will say I have one. I went with this route and I ended up finding 3 birthday cakes. So I'm doing all birthday cakes, but I did think of one thing that wasn't a birthday cake, and I'll throw it out there at the very end.
Okay.
For my first one, I am looking at a classic film that is just one of the greats. It is Some Like It Hot. It's the gangster birthday party.
Yes.
And you have the assassin hiding in the cake. And, it's such a trope to have these sorts of things where a stripper is hiding in a birthday cake and pops out. And it's like this, I don't even know where the thing came from, but it's something where it's like they hop out, and when you see a giant birthday cake rolling into a room, it's not really a cake. It's somebody's going to pop out. So it's not that much of a Trojan horse, but I guess the surprise is who's popping out of it.
Okay.
So anyway, for me, that's my first one.
Okay. No, and that does fit, because if you've got to get into a birthday party to take someone out, hiding in the cake. Although you would think they would check the cake before rolling it out,
especially if you're a bunch of gangsters.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Well, my next one is a failed Trojan horse. Because you see, Lancelot, Galahad, and I will wait until nightfall and then leap out of the rabbit, taking the French by surprise. Not only by surprise, but totally unarmed. Wait. Who? Lancelot, Galahad, and... Well, if we make a giant wooden badger, so it's, again, playing with that trope of the Trojan horse with the Trojan rabbit and Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
That was the only one I thought of that wasn't Trojan horse. So that would have been my one. So kudos for getting that on the list.
Okay.
I'm glad that you included that one. Very nice. And it's just a genius movie, and that is a very funny moment. So. For my next one, it is Addams Family Values. We have a birthday party scene where Gomez has made a giant cake with a dancer inside, and for Fester, because it's Fester's birthday party. And being the Addams family, nobody pops out, and Gomez looks over to Lurch and goes. Gomez, what does he say? He says, like, Gomez, did you remember to have her get in, or did you have her get in before you cooked it, before you baked it? Because he opens it and it's just smoke coming out of the top of the cake. So that's a birthday cake Trojan horse fail.
Yes. Okay. So both of our middle picks are fails.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Your final pick.
All right. My final pick. So this is, I think, an innovative twist on the Trojan horse. And my wife actually helped me out with this one, because she said, well, I think this qualifies because technically they're hiding in something, and that something that they're hiding in is someone else's identity. And I'm talking about the Harry Potter franchise specifically. It happens a couple times, but when they use polyjuice potion. So when Ron and Harry need to sneak into the Slytherin house, they have to masquerade as other people. And so they drink the polyjuice potion, which gives them the external appearance of Crabbe and Goyle, so they can get in there. So technically they're hiding inside somebody else's identity so that they can sneak in and take care of what they need to do and find the secret information. And I think in the later films, I can't remember which one, they sneak into the Ministry of Magic using a similar device. But I'm going to use polyjuice potion as sort of a magical Trojan horse, because they're letting you in thinking you're something else.
Nice. I'm sure there's a good number of kind of the sci-fi types of films where you have that sort of thing, or fantasy, where somebody disguises themselves as somebody else. So cool. Well, for my final pick, I am looking at another classic that's just one of the all-time greats. It is Singing in the Rain, and it's a moment early on in the film when this is shortly after Kathy has just kind of she's run into this movie star and told him what a joke movie stars are and all this sort of stuff. And she would never dream of showbiz and all this. And then
That's right.
at this big party, she's the one who pops out of the cake, and he's standing right there. And it's just a fantastic reaction the two of them have before she goes and has to jump into her song with all the dancers, All I Do Is Dream of You. It's a hilarious scene, just the way that it plays out. Just the two of them, I think, are so good. Seeing Debbie Reynolds and Gene Kelly in the scene, and just kind of just the way that the scene plays out, it's really cute. So that's it. That's my.
Didn't you guys talk about that on the main show?
Did you guys
talk? You have not talked about it, because I thought about that. That did come up. I was like, well, there is the jumping out of the cake, and I thought, well, she's not really sneaking in. But then I thought, oh, they must have talked about that. I've already got Inside Man that I know they've talked about. But oh my goodness. Okay, no, that's yes. If people haven't seen Singing in the Rain, and that the comic, such a great moment.
It is. It really is
great pick. Yes.
So,
all right.
There's our list. It's a tough one, but hey, at least we pulled through and got something together for everybody. So
we've got to talk about next week, and a movie that I haven't seen in probably 30 years, so it's very hazy for me on this one. And I feel like everybody that I knew in college and high school had seen this movie like dozens of times. So I watched it in college once, and just I don't remember that much about it.
Well,
so you're gonna have to help me out.
It is the producers, 1968, the original Mel Brooks film that we are looking at. This is one where we've talked about some of the ideas. It's kind of come up on the show where we could very easily get away with doing a like non-musicals adapted into non-musical films adapted into Broadway shows.
That were then made back into movies.
Well, I think that might be a stretch a little too far, but because I think that's a very short list.
Well, you've got.
I think that might be Hairspray in this, right?
Yeah, I was going to say I think you've got Hairspray in this, and that's probably about it. But okay.
But if we did non-musical films turned into Broadway musicals, I think that gives us a number of things to work with.
And we'll get hamstrung with that one, and that's what they're going to pick. So let's give them some really other compelling categories to vote for.
Yeah.
But I like that. Yes, that definitely. Okay.
Okay. We could do movies that are, we could do just films that are about behind the scenes in the theater.
Have we done that list before?
I don't feel like we have.
If we did, it was a while ago.
Recent theater movies have we talked about?
Well, it may have
and,
been last
and they
year.
probably didn't pick it because they probably picked movies with talking parrots or something.
No, I like the behind the scenes because I thought we had done something, because I swear Pete picked Noises Off as a pick on a list sometime as a behind the scenes thing, but it has been quite some time, so we can throw that definitely in the mix.
Okay. What do you want to do for a third one? We could do Crazy Partnerships.
Okay.
Do
Crazy Partnerships.
Like partnerships where, the two guys seem like it's like the Odd Couple types of partnerships.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that there's some interesting friction between the duo. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. There we go.
That gives us some broad categories.
Yes, and that one won't get
easier to search for than Trojan Horses.
And it won't get picked because they'll be like, "That's too easy. We're going to go with," which is fine. We can always give them an opt out. So I like that.
Okay, well, good. Then those are our options. We've got non-musical films turned into Broadway shows, behind the scenes, or films that take place behind the scenes in theater, and films with crazy partnerships.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Then that's what we're doing. We'll see what people pick for next week's Saturday Matinee.
There we are.
Awesome. Well, all of you wonderful Patreon supporters out there, thank you so much for supporting us. We really appreciate it, and I couldn't do it without you. And I guess that's it. So, Steve, it's been a pleasure.
Hondo.